Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you news as it relates to Bible prophecy and foretold by Yisrael Hawkins. Well, we have California in the news. They're dealing with some wildfires, but this time it's not just wildfires in the mountains. This is moving down into populated areas, destroying a lot of structures. Record-breaking global military spending is another topic of agenda right now. And of course, nations are concerned over Iran's move towards the development of nuclear weapons. But first, we're going to talk about those wildfires, in California, which is wiping out not just forest and brush anymore. The latest round of wildfires has moved into heavily populated cities, and they're destroying homes, businesses, and neighborhoods at an unprecedented rate. Let's take a look at this next video for more on this developing story.
It's shocking video showing the absolute devastation in the Pacific Palisades. The footage reveals mile after mile of scorched earth where beautiful homes once existed.
The devastation is complete and just jaw-dropping.
Officials now say thousands of structures have burned to the ground. Today, the Pacific Palisades is still on fire. The frustration, of course, is for firefighters. It's like a giant game of whack-a-mole. You never know where the fire is going to hopscotch. Hours ago, this house was fine, but it caught fire this morning. The entire house was decimated by flames. Dramatic footage shows a cliffside home engulfed in towering flames. It's a total loss. But less severe wind conditions did allow firefighters to finally gain the upper hand, launching water drops from helicopters to save the heart of Hollywood. Fury is growing today over the lack of water supply that has hindered firefighters as they battle fires around Los Angeles.
Our neighbor's house is going up. We're going up. There's no water.
This homeowner is irate as he records his house going up in flames while his 84-year-old father and his daughter try to douse the fire with a garden hose. Suddenly, he says, the water stops.
There's no water. I can't save my house.
He tried his best, but the water literally stopped. Not one fire truck.
Today, I found actor Steve Guttenberg with a shovel, putting out hot spots on his neighbor's property. When I grabbed a hose to help, I discovered no water.
Well, there's no water. Steve, there's no water.
Was the water turned off recently, or is it just no pressure?
There's no water at all up here.
At a press conference, LA's Mayor Karen Bass was hit with a barrage of questions about reports of fire hydrants running out of water.
The water problems are a little better now because the winds are such that we can go up and have the air support. And you know that that was the reason that the devastation was so bad, the unprecedented wind.
Gatan, some pretty amazing footage there. You know, those fires fueled by 80-mile-an-hour winds. Of course, it made it almost impossible for some of the air support to help put out these fires. And those locations there, that is some of the most expensive real estate property in the United States. So quite a loss there on those houses that are going up.
Sad.
Well, with all the technology and advancement in science, some would think that we would be closer to peace. On the contrary, we currently have more global conflict today than any other time in history since World War II. Now, what do world leaders see as a solution to the ongoing conflicts? More spending on military defense, which is also at an all-time high, again, following the year 2024.
Wow. Well, NATO, the EU, and the United States are pushing for even more spending. Not every country, though, is in agreement with more spending. Ireland's president, in fact, said that more militarization will lead to more war. Well, along with the increase in military spending and defense companies and their surging profits, there's also an increase in poverty and hunger, linked, of course, to the increased conflicts? Well, two of the biggest contributors, according to a recent study, are Russia's war in Ukraine and Israel's invasion in Gaza.
Well, according to the Institute for Economics and Peace, there are 56 global conflicts and 92 countries are involved in fighting beyond their borders, and militarization has increased in more than 90 countries. Now, incoming U.S. President-elect Donald Trump agrees with the increased spending on global military defense. The global community has had little effect on ending the conflicts in Sudan, Yemen, and Ukraine, where civilian deaths continue to rise due directly to the war or indirectly through, of course, the diseases and starvation that often come from these wars.
That's right. Now, the damage from these conflicts is a staggering $19.1 trillion, which represents 13% of the global GDP, and that was in 2023. In that same year of 2023, more than 160,000 people were killed, and more than 110 million people were actually forced to flee their homes. Well, in our time of great technological advancements, we still have no peace.
Well, now we're going to focus on the country of Iran and how it seems they are preparing for war as well. Iran's government is increasing its air defense, tightening the security around its nuclear plants, and now conducting military exercises which they have been named Iqtidar, which is translated as meaning might in English. Now, this show of force could very well be to send a message to Israel and the United States that Iran is not a country to mess with.
These are not small military drills. To be clear, it involves the entire country's security force, from the Air Force to the military to the IRGC, which IRGC, of course, stands for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and is the part of Iran's military that protects the leaders of Iran. Now, their drills are being practiced in central Iran near the Natanz nuclear facility, which is one of their most important plants. In the exercises, they are preparing for how to respond to airstrikes from an enemy.
So why is Tehran going to such great lengths at this time to assert themselves? Well, the answer to that is simple. It feels threatened by its archenemies, Israel and the United States. Now, Iran's concern is not without facts. According to the news source Axios, American President Joe Biden discussed plans to strike Iran's nuclear sites with his national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, in which they raised concerns about Tehran heading toward building a nuclear weapon.
Oh, they were discussing prudent scenario planning on how to respond should Iran do things like enriching uranium to 90% purity. Now, no further action has been taken, but Israel also has been discussing plans to attack Iran, believing that the incoming President Donald Trump will back any such move much stronger than the last president. Now, Israel is not only hoping for support from the United States on its own plans, but also that the United States will carry out its own strikes as well.
So that leads to the next question. Why are these two countries considering attacking Iran now? Well, as we just mentioned, the concern for Iran to reach its goal of nuclear weapons is very real. It was reported in December of 2024 by Rafael Grossi, head of the IAEA, that Iran had enriched uranium to 60% purity. But now reports are saying they are getting even closer to 90% purity. And 90% is enough to use for nuclear weapons. So according to one estimate, with 90% enriched uranium, it could make up to 4 bombs.
Wow. Well, France has also weighed in on the situation. President Emmanuel Macron has stated, quote, Iran's nuclear program is on an irreversible course, end quote. Now, the French president added, it is near the point of no return, saying the acceleration of its nuclear program brings us very close to the breaking point. Its ballistic program threatens European soil and our interests, end quote. Thus, the reason for Iran's military exercises. Well, in a statement from Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister of Iran, he warned that Tehran is ready for any future Israeli attacks on the country, which could lead to a much larger conflict in West Asia.
Well, Iran is offering a peaceful solution to the situation, saying it is willing to renegotiate the nuclear deal they had offered to President Donald Trump the last time he was in office. Now, it was a nuclear pact that was supposed to stop Iran from producing a nuclear bomb. But in 2018, President Trump backed out of the deal, so there is some question as to whether he will reverse his stance now, 7 years later.
But if Trump doesn't and only increases the pressure on Iran through sanctions and other means, along with the weakening of Iran's proxies who have been battling Israeli forces, it does not leave Iran with many options. But its nuclear program, of course, for leverage. But from the looks of it, Iran is not willing to give it up without a fight.
And that seems to be the sentiment of most countries these days.
Yes, for
They're
sure.
ready to fight. Well, on another front, could Turkey go to war with Israel? Now, Israel's government is being encouraged to prepare for just that amid increased tensions between the two countries. Please pay attention to this video, which explains the serious and complex situation between Israel and Turkey. Take a look.
Israel is bracing for a potential war with Turkey, as a critical government report warns of mounting regional tensions and strategic threats. The Nagel Committee has issued a stark warning about Turkey's increasing regional ambitions and potential military confrontation. Israeli intelligence suggests that Turkey's efforts to restore Ottoman-era influence represent a significant security challenge. The committee's comprehensive report indicates that Turkey could pose an even more dangerous threat than Iran, potentially using Syrian factions as strategic proxies. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed the gravity of the situation, stating, "We are witnessing fundamental changes in the Middle East. New forces are entering the arena, and we must be prepared for the unexpected." The recommended national defense strategy includes a substantial budget increase of 15 billion Israeli shekels annually. This massive investment would fund advanced military acquisitions, including F-15 fighter jets, sophisticated drones, satellites, and enhanced air defense systems like Iron Dome and the new Iron Beam laser technology. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has escalated tensions with provocative statements, accusing Israeli leadership of pursuing a Greater Israel project. His rhetoric suggests a potential conflict that extends beyond conventional regional disputes. Historical tensions between the two nations provide critical context for the current situation. The 2010 flotilla incident, which resulted in the deaths of 9 Turkish nationals, remains a significant point of diplomatic strain. Military experts warn that the potential conflict could destabilize the entire Middle Eastern region. The involvement of multiple actors, including Iran, Hezbollah, and various Syrian factions, creates a complex and volatile landscape. Professor Efrat Aviv, an expert on Turkish-Israeli relations, noted, "There is a chance of a future military confrontation between Israel and Turkey. This is unprecedented, as are all events witnessed in the region recently." The proposed defense preparations include constructing a fortified security barrier along the Jordan Valley. This strategic infrastructure represents Israel's proactive approach to preventing potential threats from developing near its borders. International diplomatic channels remain tense, with previous mediation efforts by the EU and United States struggling to maintain stability between Turkey and Israel. The complex web of regional alliances further complicates potential resolution strategies. Israeli officials emphasize that their preparations are defensive, designed to protect national security in an increasingly unpredictable regional environment. The government's approach suggests a careful balance between strategic readiness and diplomatic caution. The potential conflict extends beyond bilateral tensions, reflecting broader geopolitical shifts in the Middle East. Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza remain critical theaters where regional influences intersect and conflict becomes increasingly likely. As tensions continue to escalate, both Israel and Turkey are positioning themselves strategically. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether diplomatic negotiations can prevent a potential military confrontation or if the region is heading toward an unprecedented conflict. The world watches closely as these two significant regional powers navigate a complex and potentially explosive geopolitical landscape.
Interesting comments there, Katan, especially Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that there are other players now entering the arena. And we know that in the Middle East, this whole Middle East conflict, it is starting to engulf the whole region there. Right. And now with Israel and Turkey, this is another war, or potentially another war that Israel is saying we have to be prepared for anything.
Yeah, well, I like how we mentioned last time how one of the ambassadors to Israel was saying that, you know, instead of creating more problems, they should actually try to sit down at a table and work out the problems so that they can come to a peaceful resolution. But it seems more and more, many leaders are very, against that plan of action. Instead, they're ready to take the action of war, fighting, and of course that just leads to, as one of the leaders said there, more wars.
Right, and they did say in the next coming weeks and months, you know, they could potentially be negotiations, but as you just mentioned, negotiations seem to be something these days that don't really have an effect.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100%.
Well, if you want to learn more about these stories, contact the House of Yahweh, and when you do, don't forget to request your free copy of the monthly newsletter and Prophetic Word magazine. Here's how.
To contact the House of Yahweh, you can write them at the House of Yahweh, P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604. You can call the House of Yahweh at 1-800-613-9494. Visit them on any of their websites by going to Yahweh.com, YisraelHawkins.com, and Yahweh'sBranch.com. You can visit our website by going to YPNnews.com. You can email the House of Yahweh at info@Yahweh.com. For all calls outside the United States, please dial the number on your screen. And don't forget the Yisrael Says and Ask Israel program. You can find those programs free online 24/7 by going to YisraelSays.com and AskYisrael.com.
Well, don't go anywhere. Up next is another classic message from Yisrael Hawkins. From all of us here at YPN News, I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
And I'm Katan Alexander.
Thanks for watching.